Welcome to Eye on Sci-Fi podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eye on Sci-Fi podcast, episode 197. This is your host, Rod Faulkner, and I want to welcome you back. And let me tell you, it is good to be back with you guys. Now, if you did not listen to our previous episode where I announced the return of the podcast from hiatus, let me kind of go over again what exactly happened. So, back in July of 2023, when the actors and writers strikes were in full swing in Hollywood, I decided to place the podcast on hiatus in order to stand in solidarity with both the actors and writers unions. But now both strikes, thankfully, have been resolved, and it is a brand new year, and the podcast is back. And I want to thank you all for your support and for joining me again. Now, I wanted to do something special for our return podcast. And so I thought that I would list 7 science fiction shows that are very underrated, but if you're a fan of the genre, they are very much worth a watch. And they are in no particular order. First up, Dark Matter is a space opera that proves that science fiction can not only be fun, but it can have great character development and plot twists that you cannot predict or see coming. Check out Dark Matter that was co-created by the executive showrunner of Stargate SG-1. Okay, so this one is a fantasy. I cheated, y'all. Go with it because it is a wonderful watch. One Piece is the live-action adaptation by Netflix of the anime by the same name, and it follows the misadventures of Monkey D. Luffy. Yeah, I know, that name notwithstanding, and his crew of misfits as they attempt to become king of the pirates on their seafaring world. Again, this is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Next, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a wonderful return to form to the Star Trek franchise, and it focuses on what made Star Trek popular in the first place. Its aspirational view of the future as it follows humanity's exploration of the final frontier is a joy to watch. Next, this is a show that I am going to keep banging the drum on periodically because it is so very much underrated. It stars Jason Momoa, and it is set in a world in which, after a viral pandemic decimates humanity and renders the survivors blind. Now, fast forward several hundred years later, when sea opens, humanity has reverted back to a pre-industrial agrarian type of society in which kings and queens rule, and there are also wandering tribes of people. Now, being sighted has become something of a myth. However, twins have been born with the gift of sight. Let me tell you that this show shows that Jason Momoa, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but to give credit where credit is due, the man can act and does have range depending on the material that he is given. C is Exhibit A that attests to this fact. It also stars Alfred Woodard as part of the cast, and the second season antagonist is Dave Bautista. This show is beautifully shot, and many of the background actors and part of the supporting cast are visually impaired. Again, this is one of the most unique science fiction series in all of television, and it has completed its 3-season run. Also on Apple TV Plus is Silo. Silo is the adaptation of the sci-fi novels Dust and Wool by Arthur Hugh Howey. It is set in a post-apocalypse in which nuclear war has devastated the planet. Surviving humans now live in a single, enormous underground bunker. Rebecca Ferguson, who also portrays Lady Jessica in the new Dune films, is the reluctant, newly appointed sheriff. As she's grappling with the enormity of her new responsibilities as sheriff, she stumbles upon a dark conspiracy regarding the true purpose of the silo and the nature of the world outside. Now, Silo has also been greenlit by Apple TV Plus for a second season. Listen, when it comes to prestige sci-fi television, Apple TV Plus is where it's at, y'all. Next up, yet again, another Apple TV Plus series, and I promise this wasn't intentional. Foundation, which is adapted from the books of the same name by acclaimed author Isaac Asimov, can be described in two adjectives: cinematic and grand. Every episode of this series is like you're watching a big budgeted sci fi movie. From the costumes to the locales, the cinematography, the sets, and the visual effects, this is mind blowing sci fi TV. The first two seasons are available now, and the third is on the way. Now, last but definitely not least is From, starring Harold Perrineau, who also starred in Lost, Oz, The Best Man, and many other television series and films. Now, From is truly a sci fi horror television series that delivers on the horror. It is about this small, nameless town that is in somewhere USA. If you get to this town, you will quickly discover that you can never leave it. But that's not the truly creepy part. Every night when the sun sets, these terrifying creatures come out to hunt. And trust, you do not want to be outside when these creatures arrive. But where is this town? Who built it? What are these creatures and where are they from? All of this informs the mystery of From. The first two seasons are available now, and it is on MGM Plus, which is accessible if you have Amazon Prime Video. And a third season of From is on the way. So, there you have it. 7 very underrated science fiction television series that I believe you all will enjoy and that definitely deserve a larger audience. That's it for this episode, everyone. And again, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast. And please make sure to leave us a review and rating because that does help others find us, and we appreciate that. I also need to ask that you visit our link tree in the show notes. There you will be able to explore not only our archive of podcast episodes, but also our archive of speculative films that we have curated over at the7thmatrix.com that are ready for you to explore and enjoy. I also need to ask you to visit our support section because without the support of kind and generous listeners like yourself, we would not be able to do the work that we do here at Ion Sci-Fi Podcast and over at the7thmatrix.com. And we do, again, thank you. So until next time, everyone, make sure to take a break, escape the mundane, and enter the fantastic. Take care.